It is Saturday, May 3rd here at the West End Gun Club. It's about 6:30. Came up here to the upper range of the facility where they have 3 new pistol bays. But before I shoot pistol, I walked over to the rifle side on the upper range to just put 5 rounds through my 6.5 Creedmoor NRL Hunter build. I've been putting 3 or 5 rounds every time I come out to the range at 100 yards just to monitor the zero shift, because I switched the chassis from the HNT26 to the carbon. And I want to see if the zero shift is going away, and it kind of is. I'm seeing 1/10 of a mil, like left and right, so it seems like it's pretty good, but I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I didn't bed that gun. I'm just using the pillars that are in the stock with the bottom metal from MDT, but I'll do another video about this in the near future, about this carbon stock. But the real reason we're out here today is because of this deal. And if you follow my Instagram, you might have seen me post a story about the P365 that I just acquired. This gun's been out for a long time. Came out, I think, in 2019 or 2020 at SHOT Show. When I held a SHOT Show, I said, hey, this is an awesome gun. Subcompact, micro compact, if you want to call it that. It holds a pretty good number of rounds, and to be honest, I don't know how many it holds in the normal states. But I remember at the time, I was like, hey, this is a lot of rounds of 9mm in a small package. I said, this is gonna be awesome. Too bad we can't get in California. But in recent years, Sig released a version for California, and for the longest time, I didn't realize how they were getting guns on the roster. I don't want to go deep in the weeds, but basically there's a handgun roster in California that if it's not on that roster, you can't buy it in California as a regular civilian. And so there was a condition for a long time that in order to get onto the roster, you needed to have micro stamping, because that was a new law they passed. And I thought that was in effect for a long time, and then apparently they removed that restriction, and you can get guns on the roster now. But like, there's 3 specific things they need to have, which this does have. So first off, how this differs from normal states and the normal version of the P365 is that it has an external safety, a manual safety. Second item it has is it has a loaded chamber indicator, which is this deal at the very top. If you have a round in there, it just pops up. And when you have the regular plate on here that covers this optic mount area, it'll say loaded when up. Like, there's this little plate here, which I actually have it off because I put a Holoson on here, but it says loaded when up on here. So if there's a round in here, this little thing pops up, whatever. Then the other thing is that it has a third item that it needs to have in order to get on the roster is a magazine disconnect. What does that mean? If there's no magazine in the firearm, it will not fire. So I have no mag in the gun, it's cocked, it will not fire. Yeah, sorry, safety off, will not fire. But if I put a mag in, so that's the magazine disconnect. So it has those 3 items in order to get on the roster. That being said, the P365 has been in California, available in California for a few years now, and I just kept holding off because I'm such a Glock person, and where's my Glock? This is my normal carry, which is loaded because it's what I carry. This is my Glock 26 Gen 4, which I did get in California. Somehow there was like a thing back in the late early 2010s where I was able to get a Gen 4. But I have a Gen 4 G26, this is a Glock 9mm, and this is my normal carry for every day. But this is much smaller, and the only reason I was holding off on getting this is because I'm just so used to Glocks. I have all the magazines, why bother? But now that I've just said, hey, you know what, I just want to try a new pistol, a smaller pistol, because even now it's starting to feel kind of heavy, especially when you go to church and you have like you're wearing dress pants. Sometimes it's hard to conceal these things because this also is quite thick. So I said, oh, you know what, I'm going to bite the bullet. This is going to be the first gun that I ever got on the new roster rules for like new guns that got on there. And to have a magazine disconnect, how am I going to deal with this? So let's go ahead and test fire it, and we'll get into some of the details about why I'm not going to care too much about the 3 items on this gun as far as how it got on the roster in California. But let's go ahead and put some rounds in it, and we'll try it with this Holoson EPS Carry, which I did acquire just recently, or I just acquired for this gun specifically. It's a direct mount, so we're going to try this one out. But actually, I need to set up a target first. So let me set up a target. We'll load up a couple mags, and we'll start shooting. Set up a target at 10 yards. We're just going to go ahead and try to get this thing kind of zeroed up here. And as you can see here, maybe you can't, that little thing up there, that is the loaded chamber indicator right there, LCI. So it popped up. You can see it's not flush with the slide, so that you know it's loaded. So in any case, let's go ahead and try to zero this thing on here. And it's hazy right now. I can barely see the holes on my target. It is foggy this morning. Let's go ahead and check that real quick. And could have rested my gun. I probably will rest the gun, to be honest, but looks okay right now. So just freehanding this gun, 10 yards, aiming at A, threw a couple rounds here, but looks like we're kind of zeroed, to be honest, not even do anything. Just mounted the optic. I'm gonna go put a couple pasters on here, so I have a finer point of reference as far as aiming, and then maybe we'll rest the gun and we'll get some velocities. Well, we'll get some velocities with my defensive ammo, not with the regular practice ammo. I went ahead and just set up my chronos, since we're gonna set up the tripod with a bag to kind of zero anyway. So we'll chrono loads here with, this is what is this, Winchester white box. This is your standard fare 115 grain 9mm. I kind of like Winchester only because I just use Winchester brass, always have been whenever I reload pistol, so that's why I got the Winchester. I know a lot of people don't like white box. I don't know, some people say it's not good. I don't know, I've had no problems with Winchester white box in the 20 years I've been shooting Winchester white box, so not a big deal for me. Oh, I pulled that one. I know for a fact I pulled that one. Yeah, it's kind of wobbly on this tack table, to be honest. Holoson EPS Carry. I saw these at a SHOT Show a few years ago. Really didn't think much of it because it's running a different footprint, and so the only reason I got it is because it's a direct mount to the Sig P365. I know a lot of people crap on Holoson. I think they're good, at least for pistols and whatnot. I think they're fine optics. And I own a Trijicon, and having owned Trijicons prior to that, I can tell you that Trijicons aren't exactly the best, because I've had 3 fail on me, and I've told this story many times, but I feel that try Holoson. I think they're good. It's got tactile clicks. Okay, I don't know how many clicks I need, but went 3. Probably not enough, to be honest. Am I out? Oh, it's not in battery. There it is. Okay, still drifting left or right, so let's go and do a few more. Still needs to come over. It's funny, I'm adjusting my zero for this, white box ammo. Probably need to check it with my defensive ammo, which I think is 124s, not 115 grain. I think we're on. I don't know. I can afford to come over right, left a little bit more. Yeah, we'll leave it there. So with this cheap Winchester white box, we're at 1045, 20 SDs. So again, Winchester white box, 115 grain, 9mm. I do have some defensive ammo on me. You got a box of the Federal HSTs. These are not plus speed, these are just standard velocity, 124 grains. So let's try these out. Let's go and reset my chrono first, and we'll try a new string here. It's high, not too much, low, that's all on me. If I were a better pistol shooter, I could actually shoot groups. 1073. Let's go ahead and embarrass myself showing you my groups here. So this is kind of shooting with this is only 10 yards, which is embarrassing. So we got a group here, and this is a group here with the 124s. I could probably afford to come a little left. The 115s are shooting faster, I think, so they got more, that's why they're shooting flatter. This one's got a little bit of a drop. So I'm gonna come over left a couple more clicks, and then we'll call that a day for there. And we'll move this back a little bit, or maybe set up an IPSEC target, another IPSEC target that's clean, to at least get some 25-yard kind of groups or zero or whatnot. But I think we'll come over left 2 more clicks. Before I forget to show this off, this is pretty cool. 10 rounds of the Federal HSTs. That's a 1082 average with a 9.5 SD. I'll take that out of pistol ammo, to be honest. But it's only 10 rounds. But not bad for pistol. When it comes to the P365 and the 3 things that were added to make it to California, number 1, manual safety or external safety. I honestly don't mind this so much. Even if you don't like an external safety, technically you don't have to use it, right? You can just leave it off if you want. I feel that it's fine. I can train with this, even though I'm so used to Glocks. But it seems intuitive. I don't have a holster yet, but basically on my general handling of this, it seems really intuitive for me, even with my small hands, to just get the safety off. So, and I can use it as a thumb index, so I don't mind that. The loaded chamber indicator, I don't mind. It's fine. I press check all the time, even regardless of what's happening here. And funny enough, I did when I was taking the plate off here to put on the optic. I don't know if you can see it, but the LCI pops down when I turn upside down. It's because apparently there's a spring and I lost it. Because it actually dropped out on the floor somewhere. And I picked up the LCI, and I'm like, okay, that goes in there, but apparently there was a spring, and because I was wondering why it comes out when it's upside down, I'm like, oh, there must be a spring. So I looked it up online, and there is, and so I tried to find it on the floor. I could not locate it. And so I ordered 2 spares from a third party, so we'll get those. Then the third item, which I do mind, is the magazine disconnect. I don't like that. The idea that if you don't have a magazine in the gun, you can't pull the trigger. it's not something I want in a defensive gun, because there's going to be some situations where you want this to fire, right? For example, I don't know, you're trying to do a tack reload, right? Let's say you tack reload, you have one round in the chamber, you're going to refresh to a fresh mag, and then for some reason you need to engage quickly. I don't know, your mag's in your hand, mag's out of the gun, but you have a round in the chamber and you're trying to fire on this threat and you can't because you can't because of the magazine disconnect. So I don't like this idea. So I'm going to likely disable that, and it's controversial whether or not you should or you should not for a defensive gun. In all honesty, I think a magazine disconnect is probably a life. It's a threat. It's life threatening to have a magazine disconnect in a firearm. It's a danger to yourself, right? And I think all these people who don't understand guns think, oh, that's a safety feature. No, it's not. It is not a safety feature. I believe several years back there was that notorious case. I think it was with Beretta. Somebody correct me if this is urban legend, but apparently someone's child, a minor, was handling a firearm and was putting in a minor, another child, and pulled the trigger thinking that because the magazine was out of the gun was unloaded. And that's like the use case for why you want a magazine disconnect, because if the mag's out of the gun, you should know it's unloaded. That's false. That's not the way you handle firearms. You're always going to check, one, that the chamber is empty before, or after you pull out the mag. Number two, you don't point at anybody anyway. Like, you're not going to point at somebody unless you really are intending to put force on that person. So the idea that a magazine removed out of your gun means it's safe and I can point at you and pull the trigger, that's BS, right? Nobody would do that, right? I'm not going to point it at you and pull the trigger and say, hey, it's unloaded. No, you don't do that. So magazine disconnect, I think, is life-threatening to the person operating the firearm, and so I'm going to likely remove it. And I have to take it apart and mess with the fire control unit to do that, but we'll do that. And I don't want to do it yet because I want to make sure this gun operates as it's fully assembled from the factory. I want to make sure it operates before I make a modification such as that. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the Sig P365 California version. What's the model number on this thing? It's 365-9 BXR3P MSCA. Long model name. I think MS is Massachusetts. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong there, and CA is California. But so far, so good. Seems like it's a nice firearm. I like the feel in the hand. I'm going to have maybe a 6-month review on it, because I can kind of feel something on the grip that I'm not really too keen on, like as far as the flex in the grip. But other than that, I do like it, and I'm going to have to actually carry it before I give an honest review on this. And I'm going to get a holster, so if anybody knows what kind of holster I should get, leave a comment in the video, because I know, been doing some research, know a lot of people like the Tenacores, which I've never used before, and a lot of people like the Vetter, which I've never used either. So Tenacore, Vetter, or whatever, I use these, been using these Haley Strategic ones for a long time, the NCOGs. But if you have any other options out there, let me know, and I'll probably order one. Definitely low. Shot a few more rounds at 10 yards just to see how it is, just normal shooting, and I am printing low, so we're gonna go ahead and adjust it again. At least with the 115s, I think the 124s have more of a drop, but not bad. I think I'm getting used to the gun. It's taking me a little bit here. Not even 50 rounds so far. 50, 100 rounds, 75 rounds. It does feel different than a Glock, of course, and the grip is thinner, so I have a different hand position as far as my grip is concerned, and I'm just getting used to where I'm trying to orient my hand for recoil mitigation. Getting used to it with the follow-up shots, but other than that, not much else to say here. Gonna just kind of break this in a little bit more rounds downrange. I have to qualify with this gun so I can carry it. For those not aware, in California, at least Riverside County, you can only carry the pistol that's listed on your CCW. And in Riverside County, you can up to 6. I have 4 currently on my license. Glock 26, Glock 19, Glock 27, and my Smith & Wesson 642. Is that the model number? 642. The Airweight. It's my 38 special. So 2 9s, 40, and a 38. So I'm gonna go qual with this one, then submit like a modification to my CCW, which also is a little bit of a weird thing I have to do because I actually submitted my renewal already because it expires in September, and I don't have this on there. So I need to email them and ask them, hey, can I not only modify my current CCW, which is still valid, can I modify my renewal application to add this on there? So I'll have to work that out with the Riverside County Sheriffs. Hopefully that's not too big of a deal. And if anybody has any recommendations for holsters, again, I've been looking online. Everyone likes the Tenacor or the Vetter. If there's no ones out there, let me know. I did get one of those Raven concealment ones, which is basically a trigger guard. It's kind of like a pocket holster style deal. Something for like a slimline type, so I can just drop it in my pocket and have the trigger guarded. I have that just to have, but I need a holster. I'm likely going to just want to carry appendix carry with this, although I may want to get something for hip carry or 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock carry as well outside the waistband. But definitely something for appendix carry. Let me know if you have any ideas or recommendations. I'll give it a whirl. And as far as the EPS carry, let me know what you think about the EPS carry. I actually like it. The window seems pretty big for this small optic. I think it's bigger than my RMR, to be honest, as far as the window. So if you have any opinions on EPS carry, let me know in the comments. So far, I'm liking this. Very simple optic for a small micro compact 9mm. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and probably just clean up. I just came out here to do this. I need to take some photos. Try to take some photos. It's really foggy right now. But yeah, that's it for today here at the West End Gun Club, May 3rd, Saturday with the P365. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vlog. Just a little bonus segment here to show off the Nissan Frontier Pro 4X. This is a 2025 model. Picked this up back in December of 2024. I sold my 2001 Honda Prelude Type SH and my 2010 Tacoma Standard Cab to quote-unquote downsize. Got this truck to replace those 2 vehicles and haven't driven to the range, but decided to drive it out here today. I was considering the Tacomas, but then I didn't want to go with the 4-cylinder turbos. Decided to stick with this because it's a 3.8 V6. My dad had a Frontier 2006 and it was really good. Other than the fact that it had a really bad turning radius, which this also has. It's not a really good turning radius. It's reliable. His was a reliable truck, and I can only imagine this will be pretty reliable. I got front and rear lockers with the Pro 4X package, as well as 4 high, 4 low. But other than that, not much else to say here. I mean, I didn't want to Tacomas. I mean, their reliability on the new stuff, especially the Tundras on Toyotas, has taken a hit in recent years. But the Frontiers nobody's really had any issues with Frontiers. I know people cite some automatic transmission issues in the early 2000s and mid 2000s, but for the most part, the Frontier is a pretty reliable package, reliable truck, especially when they're still sticking with the V6. So not bad. I mean, it's not a big truck. It still sits pretty low, all things considering. When you're inside, it sits kind of low, but it is a mid-sized truck. And I can see why people want to put a lift kit on it, but I don't see the point of putting a lift kit if I'm not going to be able to put any bigger tires on here without cutting the fenders. I think these are 32s. Could be wrong. 32s, 31s, 32s. I'd have to look it up. But I like the truck. Took it to Arizona, took it to Vegas. It's pretty comfortable ride. Has a big screen in there. Probably can't see it because of the haze and it's a little sprinkly there, but got a pretty big screen, which people are into those things. I don't really care for it, but as long as it has CarPlay and I can, read maps and stuff, Waze, I'm all good. Anyway, just showing that off.